Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Welk Stars Through the Years.
Hoop-dee-doo, hoop-dee-doo, I hear a polka and my troubles are through.
Featuring the Lennon Sisters, Myron Floren, Guy Hovis, Ralna English, Arthur Duncan, Mary Lou Metzger, Ken Delo, Joanne Castle, Henry Cuesta, Jack Immel, Dick Dale, Norma Zimmer, Jimmy Roberts, Bobby Burgess, Anacani, Tom Netherton, Bob Ralston, and Joe Feeney.
When there's a fiddle in the middle or really it's a riddle, I plays a tune so sweet, plays a tune so sweet that I could die. Lead me to the floor and hear me up one more, 'cause I'm a hoop-dee-dooing kind of guy. Hoop-dee-doo, hoop-dee-doo, it's got me higher than a kite. I'm in clover, I'm in bloom, when I'm dancing give me room. Hoop-dee-dooing it with all of my might. Hand me down my soup and fish, I'm gonna get my wish. Hoop-dee-dooing it, hoop-dee-dooing it, hoop-dee-dooing it tonight. Yeah!
And now, here is your host, Mary Lou Metzger.
Welcome to our very special journey through the years as we celebrate the Lawrence Welk musical family with a look back at their lives and careers. Your favorite stars have opened their personal scrapbooks and their hearts to us, and we're sharing these precious photographs and mementos with you. And here's the perfect place to start. A look back at the Lennon Sisters and their longtime pal, Larry Welk.
Goodbye, my Coney Island baby. Farewell, my own true love, true love.
The Lennon Sisters were discovered by Lawrence Welk's son, Larry, when he was still in high school, and they made their debut on national television Christmas Eve, 1955. America immediately fell in love with these pretty girls next door with their sweet-voiced harmonies. The Lennon Sisters became role models for young women everywhere and were the darlings of fan magazines. The Lennon Sisters charmed the nation for 13 years on the Lawrence Welk TV show. After they left the Welk Show in 1968, they made guest appearances on virtually every variety show on television. They starred in their own show on ABC. Jimmy Durante presents the Lennon Sisters Hour, and the show attracted top-name guest stars such as Jack Benny and Bob Hope. The Lennon Sisters were awarded a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame and co-authored a memoir entitled Same Song, Separate Voices. In 1994, Larry Welk opened the Welk Resort Theater in Branson, Missouri, and asked them to become featured performers.
When I was a little bitty baby, my mama would rock me in the cradle in them old cotton fields back home. When I was a little bitty baby, my mama would rock me in the cradle in them old cotton fields back home.
The instant stardom of the Lennon Sisters has lasted over 50 years, and they are fondly remembered as America's sweethearts of song.
I wanted the music to play on forever. Have I stayed too long at the fair? I wanted the clown to be constantly clever. Have I stayed too long at the fair? I bought the blue ribbons to tie up my hair, but I couldn't find anybody to care. The merry-go-round is beginning to slow now. Have I stayed too long at the fair? The music has stopped and the children must go now. stayed too long at the fair. I'd better run home to the people who love me. Have I stayed too long at the fair? La la la. At the
Lawrence Welk's manager questioned the hiring of Myron Floren because the young man obviously played the accordion better than the boss. "The only people I hire are the ones who play better than I do," he replied. Myron was born on a farm near Ralston, South Dakota in 1919, and he was just 6 years old when he saw his first accordion player at a neighbor's house. From that moment on, he was determined to teach himself to play and make it his life's work. By the time he was 8, he got his first professional job, 3 days at the county fair for $10. Very good pay in those days. He worked his way through Augustana College, appearing on the local radio station KSOO and teaching accordion lessons. One of his students was a pretty young girl named Berdine Kerner. They fell in love and were engaged before he joined the European Theater of Operations, performing on battlefields and troop trains and in field hospitals. They were married in 1945, and Myron continued to pursue his musical career. Myron first met Mr. Welk in Sioux Falls, South Dakota in the late 40s, and in 1950, when the young couple went to a dance in St. Louis where the Welk Band was playing, Lawrence recognized him and invited him to play Lady of Spain. He was truly hired on the spot. It was a friendship that lasted a lifetime, and Myron was forever happily a Welk star. He was a featured player on the Welk television show from the earliest days, and in later years often conducted the Welk Band. His family grew to include 5 daughters, and his touring schedule grew as quickly as the children. He performed in Branson and on our public television specials, and hosted some of the weekly programs, including this special Father's Day program that featured his 5 girls. Myron and Berdine were married almost 60 years. He passed away at home in 2005. According to his daughter Heidi, he never stopped enjoying the time with his fans. He just loved it. The Lawrence Welk Show changed Myron's life in a personal way, too. When Bobby Burgess joined the cast, neither Myron nor Bobby had any idea that they would be family in the truest sense of the word. This photo was taken the night of Bobby's first date with Myron's daughter, Christy. Bobby was born in Long Beach, California, and even at 3 years old would whirl around the room in perfect time to the music. His mother enrolled him in dance class when he was 4, and at 5, he had his first dancing partner, Judy, and they performed at shows all around town. Show business inspired, Bobby started auditioning, and when he was 12, he answered a call for the Disney series Spin and Marty. But the Mickey Mouse Club producers grabbed him and made him one of the original Mouseketeers. Bobby continued to study dancing and had found the perfect partner in Barbara Boylan. In 1961, they read about a waltz contest at the Aragon Ballroom. They entered, won, and the prize was an appearance on the Welk Show. Their act was instantly popular with the fans, and 6 months later, they were permanent cast members. Barbara left the show in 1967 and was replaced by the vivacious and athletic Cissy King. After 10 years, she moved on, and Bobby's new partner was the lovely and talented Elaine Baldwin. They reunited for the first and only time on the Milestones and Memory special.
We'd like to take you back to those wonderful days. Yes, the early days of the dance.
Bobby married Christy Floren in 1972, and their family grew to include 2 boys and 2 girls, Becky, Robert, Wendy, and Brent. Their family has traveled the world together and is now dancing their way into the next generation. America's love of dancing to a big band was at the heart of Lawrence Welk's career. He spent a lifetime searching for great musicians, and one of the best was Henry Cuesta, a gifted clarinetist who was one of Mr. Welk's most popular featured players. He came to the Welk Show in 1972, and the perfection of his dynamic playing never stopped exciting the boss. Henry was born in McAllen, Texas. He graduated from Del Mar College, where he majored in music. Henry was drafted in 1952 and served with the Special Services branch of the Army, entertaining troops in Europe. For 10 years, Henry was the featured clarinetist on the Welk Show and added his talent to many of our public television specials. Henry and his wife Jeanette had 3 children, Marion, Lucinda, and their beloved Henry Jr. Henry died in 2003, but the memory of his great talent and total dedication to his art still makes our hearts sing, sing, sing.
always wanted me to play a polka.
Midnight, not a sound from the pavement. Has the moon lost her memory? She is smiling alone. In the lamplight, the withered leaves collect at my feet, and the wind begins to moan. Memory, all alone in the moonlight.
Her mother always said she could sing before she could talk. And with her talent and I-can-do-it attitude, Ralna English was always ready to take a bite out of life. She grew up in Spur, Texas, and by the time she was in junior high, she had her own prize-winning rock and roll band. As her career took off, she headed for California, where she performed at the Horn, a Santa Monica nightclub that attracted young stars, like Guy Hovis. They met and married a few years later. When one of Welk's publishing company executives heard her sing, he invited Ralna to audition, and within a few weeks, Lawrence asked her to join the show. Determined to get her young husband on the Welk stage, they worked out a duet and were an instant hit with the fans. Their daughter Julie brought even more happiness. Years later, their marriage ended, but their friendship and performing together didn't. Guy and Ralna's duets were featured on many public television specials, and today they do concerts all across the country. But the biggest source of pride is her daughter, who lives nearby and is a first-grade teacher. Ralna looks forward to the years to come as new generations blossom in the loving tradition of mothers and children everywhere. Like Ralna, Delo joined the Welk Show in 1969. a young man who had been inspired by show business since the age of 11 when he bought his first book of magic. During his high school years, he was both a magician and a singer, and won the Detroit Annual Talent Contest, competing against 300 vocalists. After graduating, Ken was part of Detroit's Academy Playhouse and had many starring roles. He fell in love with a young dancer, Marilyn Marquardt, who later became his leading lady on stage and in real life. When Ken joined the Army, he was placed with a special performing group for the length of his enlistment. Back in civilian life, he traveled to Alaska for 7 weeks, entertaining U.S. forces there, working with Jonathan Daly. They formed a new act, agreeing to tour Australia for 8 weeks, and were so wildly popular, their trip stretched to 6 months. Delo and Daly did more than 80 television appearances and 3 TV specials. Arthur Duncan introduced Ken to Lawrence Welk, who invited him to guest on the show, and 5 weeks later, he was a regular. When the Welk Resort opened, Ken was invited to be the master of ceremonies and a featured performer, one of his lifelong dreams.
To dream the impossible dream, to fight the unbeatable foe, to bear with unbearable sorrow, to run where the brave dare not go, to right the unrightable wrong, to love pure and chaste from afar, to try when your arms are too weary, to reach that unreachable star. This is my quest, to follow that star, no matter how hopeless, no matter how far, to fight for the right without question or pause, to be willing to march into hell for a heavenly cause. And I know if I'll only be true to this glorious quest, that my heart will lie peaceful and calm when I'm laid to my rest. And the world will be better for this, that one man, scorned and covered with scars, still strove with his last ounce of courage to reach the unreachable star.
It must have seemed like someone was watching over her when Anacani was offered the opportunity to be on a national television series. Lawrence Welk met her at his Escondido Resort restaurant, auditioned her on the spot, and within weeks began her long association with the Welk musical family. Anacani is the 6th of 7 children, all born in Mexico. Music had been in the family for generations, and everyone sang and played a musical instrument. At 12 years old, she was discovered by Televisa, Mexico's premier television station, and accompanied by her mother, she performed throughout Latin America and Mexico. So when Mr. Welk discovered her in 1973, she was already a seasoned entertainer. For the next 10 years, she was a lively and very popular part of the show, singing in Spanish and English. Anacani toured with the Lawrence Welk Show and wowed fans all across the country. She also continued to tour in Mexico and Latin America, as she does today, often dressed in gowns she created herself, and she is truly an international star. Anacani married Rudy Echeverria, and they had a daughter, Priscilla, the pride and joy of their life. She's grown up now, living just a few hours away from her parents. Anacani continues her study of the guitar, always looking to improve her musical skills. I never take anything for granted, she says, because I respect, love, and enjoy the people who come to see me perform. It's a lesson I learned from Mr. Welk.
Cada sábado en la noche yo me voy a volar suave, bailan rumba, gile zumba, bailan guaracha sabrosón. Potecito y el danzón, pachuco suave, bailan rumba, gile zumba, bailan guaracha sabrosón. Potecito y el danzón.
Life has been a full-circle journey for our Midwestern friend Dick Dale. He grew up in Algona, Iowa, and has retired there to be with family and longtime friends. Dick was in the 7th grade when a music man came to town selling musical instruments. Dick asked for a flute, but had to settle for a tenor sax, but became so good at it he won a school championship. He joined the Navy when he was 18, and when the war was over, Dick had made the decision that music would be his life's work. He joined various bands and began to sing in addition to playing the sax. He married Marguerite in 1949, and they settled into the hectic life of an on-the-road musician. In 1950, Lawrence Welk was playing in Storm Lake, Iowa, and Dick was determined to meet him. Before the evening was over, he had sung with the band, and Mr. Welk had promised to call if there was an opening. The phone rang the next year. Dick joined them on a month-long tour. When the Lawrence Welk Show debuted on national television in 1955, there was no stopping them. Dick was a Welk Show favorite right from the start, still playing in the band, but now one of the featured singers, doing solos and duets with Champagne Lady Alice Lawn. For the next quarter century, Dick played in the band, sang, and did his own memorable versions of Dean Martin, Crazy Guggenheim, and even Frankenstein. Dick and Marguerite celebrated their 50th anniversary in 1999 and are looking forward to many more. Their family has grown to include 4 grandchildren, and Ryan, now 13 years old, is carrying on his grandfather's musical tradition. Some things never change.
There'll be a change in the weather and a change in the sea. From now on, there'll be a change in me. My walk will be different, my talk and my name. Ain't nothing about me's gonna be the same. I'm gonna change my way of living, and if that ain't enough, I'll even change the way I strut my stuff. 'Cause nobody wants you when you're old and you're gray. There'll be some changes made starting today. There'll be some changes made. Oh, let's hear the band. Will be different, my talk and my name. Ain't nothing about me's gonna be the same. All right. Nobody wants you when you're old and you're gray. There'll be some changes made starting today. There'll be some changes made. Change the weather don't mean a thing. From this day forth, every day will swing. Change the tide that's in the sea. There's gonna be a change in me. My walk will be different. It'll be slightly insane. Ain't nothing about me gonna be the same. I'm gonna change my way of living, baby. You better start and changing too. Have your fling and start to swing before your swinging days are through. 'Cause nobody wants you when you're old and gray. There'll be some changes made today. Out with the old stuff, in with the new stuff. There'll be a lot of changes made. Don't want no sad songs, just sing me glad songs. There'll be a lot of changes made. Gonna get a new look, gonna read a new book. You know there'll be some changes made. Thank you.
Oh, yes. That sounds like Boogie Woogie to me. I know you love Boogie Woogie, yes. A lot of you remember that era of the 40s, don't you? Yeah. I know, I watched you come in.
That's our Joanne Castle, always full of fun and loaded with talent. She began taking singing and dancing lessons when she was 3, and by 5, she was a local hit. tapping and singing to Sittin' on a Log, Pettin' My Dog. At 7, she started studying the piano, and at 11, she sang country and did a killer imitation of Minnie Pearl. By 17, she had her own band and was appearing in Las Vegas. She made an accordion album when she was 18 that impressed Lawrence Welk, and it opened the door to his show. After a few guest appearances, she was asked to join the cast on her 20th birthday. For the next 10 years, Joanne played her ever-decorated piano, sang, danced, and did comedy skits, part of a championship team that entertained the American public every Saturday night. She left the show in late 1969 to care for her daughter, Dina, born with cerebral palsy. Her other 2 children, Bill and Joni, were able to be with their sister before her death in 1978. Joanne rejoined the musical family on a Christmas show in 1985 and was a headliner when the Welk Resort opened in Branson. Today, she does concerts around the country and enjoys spending time with her fiancé, Mr. Lynn Biviano, and her grandchildren, Billy and Lauren. Lauren is taking dancing lessons and learning to play the piano, following her grandmother on an exciting musical journey.
If tomorrow all the things were gone that I'd worked for all my life, and I had to start again with just my children and my wife, well, I'd thank my lucky stars that I'm living here today, 'cause the flag still stands for freedom, and they can't take that away. And I'm proud to be an American, or at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the ones who died, who gave that right to me. And I'll gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. Yes, I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the ones who died, who gave that right to me. And I'll gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. God bless the USA.
Guy Hovis was born in Tupelo, Mississippi, the birthplace of Elvis, but more traditional singers inspired him. He was a talented little boy, always musical, and at age 5 sang a solo in church, the first of many. When he was 15, he formed an award-winning quartet in high school, and then went to the University of Mississippi to study accounting, putting together the popular Chancellor's Quartet with his friend Trent Lott. About to start grad school, he listened to his heart and headed for California. He was adopted by the Ricardis, owner of the Horn, a Santa Monica nightclub, and that's where he learned to perform. He did the Art Linkletter House Party show, got a contract with ABC Records, and married Ralna English. When she became a Lawrence Welk Show cast member, his life changed too. They sang on the Christmas show and got so much fan mail. By February 1970, Guy was invited to join the cast. Lawrence was delighted with his first husband and wife team and shared their joy when Julie came along. In 1982, when the Welk Show stopped production, Guy took a federal government job, but never stopped performing. And when public television embraced the Welk Show, Guy was part of every new special.
Only God, no other king. Let the mighty eagle soar. Let the eagle
He married Sis Lundy in 2002, and 3 years later sang at a presidential inauguration, an honor given very few singers. The Welk Show was the perfect place for me, he says, and I have such an appreciation for Lawrence and all the fans that have stayed with us for so many years. Today, Guy often does solo performances and many concerts with his longtime partner, Ralna English.
Oh, yes, she's got them all on the run.
But her heart belongs to just one.
Her heart belongs to Tangerine.
Why should I feel discouraged? Why should the shadows come? Why should my heart be lonely and long for heaven and home? When Jesus is my portion, my constant friend is He.
As we looked through the hundreds of photos of Norma Zimmer, we all had the same thought. This beautiful woman has never taken a bad picture, and we all agree that she's as beautiful inside as she is outside. Norma was born in Larson, Idaho, in a log cabin, the daughter of musically gifted parents. After the family moved to Seattle, she won her first important high school role as Yum Yum in The Mikado. It was also in Seattle that she met Randy Zimmer, a handsome young man and an excellent skier. They began to date and were married shortly after, and they skied the trails together for almost 65 years. They had 2 sons, Ron and Mark, and Norma continued her musical career, making guest appearances on The Welk Show. On New Year's Eve, 1960, Lawrence surprised her with his offer to be the Champagne Lady, a title she holds to this very day. On The Welk Show, Norma's favorite partner was Jimmy Roberts, and their duets were always a highlight of the evening.
Picture you upon my knee, just tea for 2 and 2 for tea.
It was a source of joy and a privilege to be on the Lawrence Welk Show, Norma says, and the friends I made over the years are truly a part of my family. Jimmy Roberts got his first taste of show business performing with a GI troupe in the Army. In spite of a difficult childhood during the Depression, he was a trained violinist, and from the time he was 3 years old, his sister had taught him to harmonize. When he got out of the service, Jimmy hitchhiked to Los Angeles and landed a singing job at the Earl Carroll Theater Restaurant, and then with the Greek Theater Company. Jimmy was working in nightclubs whenever he could, and in 1954, on the advice of his mother, went to the Aragon Ballroom to audition for Lawrence Welk. He guest starred on the show for a few months and joined the cast that summer, a relationship that lasted for 45 years. The handsome Mr. Roberts was always popular with the ladies, and his weekly duets with Norma were elegant and romantic. But the love of his own life was Vi. They married in 1985, and she was his manager, mentor, best friend, and tennis partner. Jimmy died in 1999, and we still miss his quiet charm and his wonderful voice.
Prayer is the key to heaven, but faith unlocks the door. Words are so easily spoken. A prayer without faith is like a boat without a door. So have faith when you speak to the Master. That's all he asks you for. Yes, prayer is the key to heaven, but faith unlocks the door. How many times have you prayed for something big or something small? How long did you have to wait? Or did the answer come at all? Words are mere expressions of thoughts, nothing more. But believing is what really counts, and faith is what unlocks the door. So have faith when you speak to the Master. That's all he asks you for. Yes, prayer is a key to heaven, but faith unlocks the
In the great tradition of Jimmy Roberts, Tom Netherton joined the musical family in 1973 and quickly became a Welk Show favorite. Tall, blonde, and handsome, he was the perfect match for the beautiful girls that Mr. Welk had so carefully chosen. And his lush baritone voice is equally at home with popular love songs, show tunes, gospel favorites, and patriotic tributes. So appropriate to his life story. Tom was born in Munich, Germany, where his father, a career Army officer, was stationed. Almost as a joke, when he was a junior in high school, he auditioned for a musical and won the leading role. After a few years in college, he enlisted in the Army and was eventually named entertainment officer. It was obvious that music would become an important part of his life. On Tom's first appearance on the show, Lawrence had fun with his very tall new star. In his years with the Welk Show, Tom won the hearts of thousands of fans and still enjoys serenading a special lady in the audience, as he did on the show with his own beautiful mother. Throughout his entire career, Tom has been the kind of performer who provides both entertainment and inspiration. His favorite songs, like this one, relate to all ages and all religions and encourage people to feel secure in the hands of a higher power.
When you walk through a storm, hold your head up high and don't be afraid of the dark. At the end of the storm is a golden, golden sky and the sweet silver song of a lark. So walk on through the wind, walk on through the rain, though your dreams be tossed and blown. Walk on, with hope in your heart, and you'll never walk alone. You'll never walk alone. Walk on, with hope in your heart, and you'll never walk
Bob Ralston was hired by Lawrence Welk in 1963, but his life in music had started many years before that. He was born in California, and by the time he was 7, his father was teaching him to drive a gasoline-powered car that he'd designed and built, and his mother had started his piano lessons. By the time he was 10, he was playing at church and already knew how to improvise and transpose. When he was 14, his Aunt Elizabeth gave him a grand piano, and his amazing talent really began to flourish. On his 15th birthday, Lawrence Welk awarded Bob first prize, a new Dodge car, on the Hollywood Opportunity TV show. Mr. Welk told him to call when he got out of school. But playing piano wasn't his only talent. He and his partner were the Charleston champions of LA County in 1952, a skill that would serve him well in the years to come. While he was in college, Bob was in demand at the recording studios, and Lawrence Welk asked him to make a guest appearance on his show. He was on the show every week starting in January 1963, and was hired 6 weeks later when the fan mail poured in. Feeling positive about the future, he and Feecha got married the next weekend. Bob's talents were quickly recognized by the production staff. Not only was he the pianist, organist, and arranger, he was a dancer, comedian, and bit player. Today, the Ralstons enjoy looking back at past holidays, remembering the times Randy and Diane appeared on the Welk Christmas show. and look forward to many more years with them and the grandchildren. Yes, that's our Arthur, who was awarded an honorary degree as Doctor of Performing Arts in American Dance from Oklahoma City University. A well-deserved honor for a man who has spent his life entertaining audiences and educating young dancers all over the country. Pleasing the public comes easy for Arthur. He was the middle child of 13, so he's always had an audience. His parents, James and Cora Bell Duncan, celebrated their 50th anniversary with pride in the successes of their children. Arthur had his first taste of performing when he was 13. He discovered that he had a natural ability to learn steps quickly, and while in college began to get bookings to sing and dance. He appeared on local and national television and went on tour with Jimmy Rogers to Australia, followed by a 3-year tour of Europe, which included a dance celebration with children in Switzerland and nightclub appearances in Paris. In 1964, Arthur guest starred on The Welk Show, and the fans loved him. He holds the distinctive place in television history as the first African American hired as a regular cast member of a weekly variety show. Arthur stayed with the show until 1982 and has been featured in many of the PBS specials. He toured in Tommy Toon's Broadway show My One and Only as Mr. Magix, and was a featured personality in the movie Tap, starring Sammy Davis Jr. and Gregory Hines. Working with the absolutely ageless Arthur Duncan has been a real inspiration to all of us in the Welk musical family.
He's got the whole world in his hands.
That's one of my favorite songs because I've always felt his guiding spirit, and I've been blessed to be a part of the musical family for so many years. Like most of my Welk friends, I was drawn to a career in show business from a very young age, encouraged by the best mom in the world, Lennon Metzger, who started my dance lessons at age 6. I grew up in Philadelphia, and when I was 8, I sang on the Steel Pier in Atlantic City with the Stars of Tomorrow children's show, and then on the Ted Mack Amateur Hour. At 10, I won the part of Amaryllis in the road company of The Music Man, 113 cities in 10 months. I was a finalist for Miss Teenage Philadelphia, went off to Temple University, and won a spot on Arthur Godfrey's All-American College Show, which taped in California. On that trip in 1970, I sang for Lawrence Welk, and he hired me right away. Little did I know that I would spend the next dozen years singing and dancing on national television with friends like Gail Farrell and Sandy Griffiths, friends that I have treasured for a lifetime. The Lawrence Welk Show changed my life in another big way. I met and married one of Lawrence's wonderful musicians, the bass player, Richard Maloof, and I even got a kiss from the boss. Jack Immel, who was also the associate producer of the show, discovered that I could dance, and when we started dancing together, it was the luckiest break I ever got.
Sleigh bells ring, are you listening? In the lane, snow is glistening. A beautiful sight, we're happy tonight, walking in a winter wonderland. Gone away is a bluebird, here to stay is a new bird. He sings a love song as we go along, walking in a winter wonderland.
In the meadow we can build a snowman and pretend that he is Parson Brown.
You say, are you married? We'll say, no, man. But you can do the job when you're in town. Later on, we'll conspire as we dream by the fire to face unafraid the plans that we made, walking in a winter wonderland.
Just as I was in the right place to meet Jack Immel, Jack was in the right place to seize the opportunity to meet Lawrence Welk. He was a young sailor in San Diego with just 2 weeks left to serve, and he sent the office a tape of his marimba playing. Within days, he was invited to the Aragon Ballroom to audition. He played, danced, and leapt over the marimba at the end. Mr. Welk was delighted with Jack and invited him to join the show. Jack had been taking dance lessons since he was 4 years old and had a lot of stage presence even at 6. By the time he was 12, he was the star of Portland, Indiana. After high school, he toured with Horace Height's band, but the Korean War came along, and he was assigned to entertain at Navy bases, while his young wife Norma waited patiently. The Lawrence Welk Show gave Jack a great job when he left the Navy, with the stability that most entertainers never get. He was able to be hands-on father to his 5 children and a hotsy-totsy TV star at the same time. Jack played everything: marimba, drums, spoons, and even a kitchen stool. He danced, did comedy, managed the road tours, and became the associate producer of the show. He was still a headliner into the 21st century and was honored with Indiana's highest humanitarian award, presented by the governor. Today, Jack is thinking about retiring, but it's so hard to put away those well-worn tap shoes.
Old bones inside an old raincoat. Old bones inside of old shoes. Old friends from the hotel come by to wish me well and keep me up to date on all the old news. Sometimes I have me a nightcap and fall asleep in my chair. I dream that I'm the man, much younger than I am. I bet you think by now that I wouldn't care. But I love life, I'd like to do it again. Though I might not be much more than I've ever been, just to have a chance to turn back the hands and let my life begin. Oh yeah, I'd like to do it again. It's time for taking it easy. It's time for taking it slow. These old bones don't move so fast as they did once in the past. If I have to run, I simply don't go. But I love life, I'd like to do it again. Though I might not be much more than I've ever been, just to have a chance to turn back the hands and let my life begin. Oh yeah, I'd like to do it again. Just to have a chance to turn back the hands and let my life begin. Oh yeah, I'd like to do it again. Oh yeah, I'd like to do it again. You've been a wonderful audience.
Not Not long ago, we lost Joe Feeney, the Irish tenor who meant so much to all of us. Joe was from Grand Island, Nebraska, and had studied music at the university. Like so many of the other stars, Joe's introduction to Lawrence Welk was through the kindness of a friend, sending an audition tape to the producers. A guest appearance, a big fan response, and Joe was invited to be a member of the cast. The audiences loved Joe's big voice, and he never failed to please with his Irish tunes, popular hits, hymns, and patriotic songs. But he was a farmer at heart and a big, gregarious outdoorsman who loved to play golf, often with Lawrence. He loved to fish, and in his later years took a yearly fishing trip to Mexico with his son, Sean. He had been on many of the recent public television specials, and the fans loved seeing him sing with his son, Chris, who was pursuing a career in grand opera. Family was very important to Joe, obviously, as you could tell by the size of his own. Joe and Georgia had 9 children to care for, which wasn't easy with Dad often on the road with the Welk Show. He spent the last few years of his life, as we all will, at weddings and special evenings, here celebrating 3 generations of Joe Feeneys and with his grandchildren. Joe's last performance was with his daughter Kathleen, a dream come true for both of them. He was my hero, she said, and all his kids felt the same way about him.
Oh Lord, my God, when I in awesome wonder consider all the worlds thy hands have made, I see the stars, I hear the rolling thunder, thy power throughout the universe displayed. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. When Christ shall come with shout of acclamation and take me home, what joy shall fill my heart, and I shall bow in the humble adoration and there proclaim, my God, how great thou art. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art.
You've been our friends for nearly half a century, and your friendship means so much to us. As you can see, the small circle of musicians and entertainers that Lawrence Welk gathered around him over the years grew steadily. And as we grew, you, the audience, grew with us. Today we are all more than lifetime friends. We are truly a family. And as the years go by, our relationship will become more blessed, and you will always be in our hearts. God bless you.
Norma said exactly what we, the Welk musical family, feel in our hearts for all of you. Thanks so much for your loving support and your friendship over the years. And thank you for watching us on your public television station. Our only regret is that we couldn't talk about each and every star. But here's a look at many of the very talented men and women of the Lawrence Welk Show, through the years, sung by Guy Hovis.
I can't remember when you weren't there, when I didn't care for anyone but you. And I swear we've been through everything there is. Can't imagine anything we've missed. Can't imagine anything the two of us can't do. Through the years, you never let me down. You turned my life around. The sweetest days I've found with you. Through the years, I've never been afraid. I've loved the life we've made, and I'm so glad I stayed right here with you through the years. I can't remember what I used to do, who I trusted, who I listened to before. And I swear you taught me everything I know. Can't imagine needing someone so. But through the years it seems to me I need you more and more. Through the years, through all the good and bad, I knew how much we had. I've always been so glad to be with you. Through the years, it's better every day. You've brushed my tears away. As long as it's okay, I'll stay with you through the never had a doubt. We'd always work things out. I've learned what life's about.